What's up, guys? Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. Alright, so today's video will cover Stella and, of course, Elincia, who were both recent GHB and Tempest Trials units that you guys have probably already picked up, but of course there's plenty of people, including the Twitch chat below me, that has picked up and of course is wondering how these units compare. So I just want to reiterate, because if you missed some of my more recent videos, we now cover analysis and thoughts during the Twitch streams. So I implore you, if you want immediate questions or thoughts, come check out those streams. And of course, you can just get an answer much quicker. On top of that, things are just picking up in life, so there's less time for YouTube stuff, and I do apologize, but I also appreciate you guys for sticking around and watching. Always feel free to let your comments below on how you stand on these units, or any kind of changes to the channel or feedback that you want to give. I'm all ears. Alright, so as always at the beginning, smash the like button and sub. Always helps out the channel, keeps me coming back to provide you with this content. If you also want to support me more, then of course check out the description below for Patreon and coaching as well if you want to take your AR or arena or whatever gameplay and FAT to the next level. With that being said, I talk about Limstella in this video and Elincia. For those of you that don't know, I've actually already invested into Limstella and used them during the previous light season as of this video. I think they are quite a unique free unit we've picked up, and I'm really glad to actually push this idea and thoughts to you guys to potentially make great use out of Limstella. Limstella has a very unique mechanic where they do recoil damage to their allies. This is a great effect because pretty much there's only Lif who does this as another range unit, dual Lif of course, and of course we have OG Lif and I believe Fallen Berkut as well. So not a lot of units that do this, but Limstella is a perfect color, and I'd say a pretty good stat spread for exactly what I'd share with you guys in this video. So I've been using Limstella combined with dual Chrom, where dual Chrom uses something like attack res link, and then you have an option of Limstella engaging, or you have Limstella engaging or dual Chrom, depending on what a frontline far saver might be. And Limstella is really good because with no follow-up and some speed stacking in the form of like attack speed ideal, Fury 4, so Sparrow 3, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You're just pushing attack and speed there. They have a great combat sim versus both Hector and Ascended to Doom, which are the two matchups that dual Chrom fails at. Now, I'm not saying you need dual Chrom to use Limstella. I actually think you can probably get by with other assist type units as well, such as Legendary Lucina, Legendary Chrom, Sane recently released, and probably even the Valentine's Lucina as well. I think these are all solid partners for Limstella. You could probably pull it off without one of the assist type units, but it'll require more finesse. Either way, the idea is shared on my Twitch VODs, and there will be a lot of Limstella gameplay that I'm going to be doing on Twitch. So again, if you want to check that out, feel free to. I will be using them even in Chaos AR. They have a bonus season coming up, but generally speaking, this is one of the better F2P units we picked up because that recoil combined with another unit can enable Wings of Mercy strategies, Gale Force type strategies, and in the current meta, far saves are either some sort of armor with an armor weakness that something like dual Chrom can break through, or Limstella with no follow-up doesn't care about your far save anti-armor type stuff that Chrom would have trouble with. So as you can see, their stat spread is very high in attack, defense, and res. The weapon is shown on the left there. Really doubles down on your ally having attack and res buffs, which is pretty easy when you consider Chrom's, of course, using Change Fate and attack res link. And on top of that, really even making the situation better for Limstella because they deny follow-ups, they debuff attack and res by a solid -8. So there's a lot of synergy there. So on to the next point here. The fodder is not good enough that I don't think you should feel bad about potentially merging or using Limstella if you haven't already. Sabo attack is pretty good, but I think we already have that on someone else. I think it was Veld, though I could be completely wrong on that. Maybe it's Solon. I don't remember who it was. Defense res form is whatever. I guess it's a pretty budget tank option. Not really worth considering. So as I mentioned with Limstella, what I think you should be doing is the attack speed ideal, no follow-up kind of build. Now, again, if you don't have something like attack speed ideal, that's fine. It is in the paths and the codes, so it's a good option there. But generally speaking, as long as your attack speed stacking, getting as much speed, especially speed, just to outspeed with no follow-up, the enemy blue armor tanks that you can counter in far save and air offense, then Limstella is going to do an amazing job at breaking through them, because Limstella just has an insanely high attack stat. Now, if Hex Trap is also an issue, as you can see actually in the screenshot on the left there, that is my Limstella shown, with HP speed, with no merges, and even in this build here at max merges, they, with 3 mythics, have just enough HP to dodge Hex Traps, 61, which is awesome. So I think Limstella's HP stat is exactly where it needs to be. It can be pumped up if you don't have the merges. Of course, we don't have them until they show up in the Grail shop. And with like no follow-up, you can really enable them to do a lot of stuff. Their HP also being as high as it is means that Infantry Pulse is a viable option with somebody like Chrom. You can also use Times Pulse or just something else like Joint Drive Attack, since they're probably going to be near an ally anyways. Either way, that is one way to do them. The other way that potentially works is a close reversal build as a tank, like an Omni tank. I don't like this build, but I'll acknowledge it can work just because Limstella has quite a good stat spread for it. The recoil is very painful and means that Limstella is not a good partner for any near safe type options, where you would normally use a ranged tank with near safe. It means the recoil will likely just kill your ally, which is not what you want to do. So not a huge fan of that idea. But Omni tanking potentially with Kaden could be good, so I'll showcase that here. Now, I did mention Chrom a few times, but you have to understand why it works. So if you don't have a heavily merged duo Chrom, especially with like a minus HP IV, then Close Salvo with Fury is perfect recoil with 3 mythics. 52 is with 3 mythics, where with Limstella's 15 damage recoil, if Limstella was to engage, means that Chrom goes down to 37, and then Close Salvo's recoil and Fury's recoil is exactly 26, which is half, to set up a bunch of Wings of Mercy type synergies. So you could have Brave Marianne follow-up, or any of your potential Gale Force type stuff. Attack Reslink, again, is really synergistic, because Chrom can just change fate, set up that Attack Reslink, so Limstella benefits off that weapon. This is just insanely good synergy, but like I said, this can be combined with other type assist units, such as Legendary Lucina, Legendary Chrom, Sane, who was recently released, all good candidates. It can also work just by using a dance on someone else who could potentially just reposition Limstella. That also works. Another thing I want to note is that ground orders is what you need on Chrom to perfectly position in most cases for Chrom to engage. So you'd have like a change fate on Limstella, and Limstella may need to move 1 space forward. So with Chrom getting hit by ground orders, they can jump on ahead and then make a snipe. Hex Trap and just traps in general can be pretty annoying for this type of strat, but generally speaking, it's been fairly consistent and I've been ironing out, and I really do like using it. So that pretty much gives my thoughts here on Limstella. If you haven't considered them already, then maybe you should. If you're curious exactly how this executes, then I, again, implore you to come check out Twitch and the VODs there, especially during light season, where I'm using them quite well, having a lot of fun with it. Especially for an F2P unit, it's very impressive. Next up on our list here is going to be Elincia. Now, I'm going to be completely honest here, not that impressive. Not that impressive. That's pretty much the TLDR of it. Elincia is not that impressive because Claude exists. Claude, as a 4-star focus, was just released, and he has a preference weapon. He has Fallen Star. And range flyers, especially in the same type of role here, because they both are physical damage, is a problem for Elincia competing as a unit, because Fallen Star is an amazing B skill, and Claude's preference weapon is, again, better than what Whitecap Bow is. So, unfortunately for Elincia fans, if you're going to build this unit, it's going to be pretty difficult to use them because they're just not competitively as good as some other options. However, it's still fine because Elincia is at least in a role that's fairly unique. Like, and it comes to at least like we're not getting like a Green Axe Infantry or like a Blue Lance Cav. At least this is more interesting than a lot of other units. So Elincia as a unit is fairly meh, but at least it's still unique, and she does come with good fodder. So that is worth talking about here. Her stat spread is unfortunately not ideal because it is low on attack and more points are pumped into res. That's unfortunate. But the fodder is pretty good. Whitecap Bow, attack speed bond 3, and attack speed link 3 are all great fodder options. Whitecap Bow, notably being the most interesting here. Whitecap Bow is pretty much a refinable Brave Bow. The problem with that, though, is that I don't feel it has too much usage outside something like Summoner Duels, Air Offense, or PvE, where you're probably just using better units anyways that might have preference weapons, such as Ninja Korin or Ninja Lin, and let's say Air Offense. And for something like Summoner Duels, again, you're just probably using units who have preference weapons. So like Whitecap Bow is not going to be that interesting. And if you combine them, let's say, the most ideal role that I would give Elincia is like Air Defense on Bridal Catria. You don't need Whitecap Bow because Bridal Catria enables the Brave effect anyways. So you'd be using something like Fire Sweep Bow or Instant Bow on defense instead. And you don't really need the Brave effect of the Whitecap Bow. So unfortunately, not that interesting in terms of fodder, and she's not that interesting as a unit because, again, directly competing with somebody else who's in the same banner and can be picked up for a pretty low warp cost. So I'm not a huge fan of, I am a huge fan of Elincia as a character because I'm a big Telius fan, but I'm not a huge fan of, unfortunately, her viability, especially when you compare it directly to Claude. If that wasn't enough to deter you from Elincia being good, well, Lin is the other blue flyer, and while she's obviously not as good as Elincia, the problem is that Elincia will get a weapon refine in the future, while Elincia will not. So Elincia is mergeable, she has a better stat spread right now, but when you factor in a preference weapon and how it does give you a bunch of stats, Lin will outclass Elincia as soon as that refine happens, and Lin is definitely a popular unit, so we might see more of her down the road, and I don't really think the future looks very good for Elincia, because you have Lin and of course Claude, comparatively speaking, where Claude is just literally, I just gave him a minus HP IV here without a boon. That's a great oversight. But anyways, the minus IV is probably the most notable thing here anyways, because with a minus HP Claude with a Fury build, you can just set up like Wings of Mercy chains, and he's really easy to engage into a bunch of things because he has Fallen Star. So yeah, for Elincia fans, not a great video, not a great analysis. I'm sorry, I can't really show her in any way that can redeem her, but you could force her definitely on air defense with like a Fire Sweep Bow. I think that could work on a Catria team, or potentially air offense with her weapon and like Trey skill and the B skill. That's like the only things I can really push for you Elincia fans. For you Claude fans, you're definitely gaming, and Limstella fans, definitely gaming, especially if you have the synergy to make use of their weapon. That's it, folks. It's going to be my Limstella and Elincia combined analysis video. Hopefully you guys still appreciate the amount of effort I can still try to find within the shortened amount of time I have and are very busy and fun lives. This is it for my talk here. Thank you for watching as always. Smash the like button if you haven't already. And I'll likely be talking about the Hall of Forums that's coming up. That includes Sarah, Hemph, Ronan, and someone else that doesn't even come to mind. That'll be probably in a few days from this video. Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? Either way, thank you for watching. Love you all. The next one. Peace.